We're up all night to get lucky.
All Noise Radio, powered by the Connecticut School of Broadcasting.
Excuse me while I whip this out.
AllNoiseRadio.com.
Who's badder than the Shogun?
Bruce Leroy, that's who.
Bruce Leroy. Bruce Leroy.
That's the only guy that stands between show and total supremacy.
Well. I've been waiting a long time for this, Leroy. I am sick of hearing these Superman stories about the Wassa legendary Bruce Leroy catching bullets with his teeth. Catches bullets with his teeth.
The secret awaits eyes unclouded by ambition.
What?
Those who are bound by desire see only that which can be held in their hands.
See? Now it is mumbo jumbo like that. And skinny little lizards like you thinking they the last dragon that gives Kung Fu a bad name. Get up, Leroy. I got something real for your ass in these hands. We gonna settle this once and for all, cause I am back. The Shogun is back on the scene, and the Shogun is the master.
Good evening, everybody, from the CSB studios in Stratford, Connecticut. Simulcast on All Noise Radio and allnoiseradio.com and on the Zuki and Ruggs channel on YouTube. We are live for the Zuki and Ruggs Show, and I'd like to welcome everybody to our show tonight. We're going to jump right into some NFL action, and later on we'll get into a little bit of an NBA preview and discuss some other hot topics in the world of sports. And now, after our 2-week hiatus, we did our media night, Zook and myself, at Quinnipiac University, and met some of the dignitaries there. And my partner, I'm going to introduce him right now. He's, fresh from collecting, half a dozen or so phone numbers from the Quinnipiac women's team. And it's my partner, Zuki.
Hey, yo. What's up, baby?
How you doing, bud?
Man, I missed you, man. It's been a couple weeks. I miss everyone. I miss you like the deserts miss the rain.
That's just a touch uncomfortable. I don't know.
I should stop. That's
siphon it back a touch.
That's unbecoming. That's unbecoming of our show. Our listeners might think they're tuned into the wrong show. The Rainbow Sports Network. They might. I'm sorry. You know what happens when you're single for a long time, like I am. I'm 32. I turned 33 in February. You start getting the questions about your sexuality a little uncomfortable. It's like, it's like the longer you stay single, the more people think you're gay. I swear to God, people, like my own mother was like, George, honey. I'm like, yeah, ma. She's like, oh, honey, you're getting older, 33. I said, I know. What do you want me to tell you? Women are nuts. No, they're not. Like, okay. And she's like, I have to ask you a serious question. I said, yeah, ma, what's up? Are do you like girls? I'm like, well, I like them, but I don't like them. I don't know what to tell you.
Now, they're the same mothers, though, that for the first, 18 years or so are telling you that all girls are bad to stay away from you. Yeah. And, they don't want you to get in any trouble. And they screen all your phone calls and all that stuff. And now how quickly it changes.
Oh, yeah. Anyway, enough of my personal life. What happened yesterday, man? There's a lot of big stories going on, Ruggies.
There is. There's some weird things that happen, some interesting decisions, some questionable calls. I mean, you get that every week. But, man, I wanted to touch on something in the 49ers and Saints game.
Mm-hmm. I mean, let it out, bro.
Is it the flag? NFL is the F for flag? I don't know. Flag football. Can you touch anybody anymore? Can you breathe on people?
Yeah,
I mean, I know the rule. It was a rule. They, it's part of the no zone or whatever you want to call it on quarterbacks, which gives you about an 18-inch radius to hit somebody. But they did go, did hit him near the neck. Should that have been a penalty? It killed the Niners. Win that game without that call.
I agree. Now the problem is I'm all for safety. Protecting the quarterbacks. I was supposed to go to a Giant Packer game on Sunday, and I didn't go. I could have gone if I really, really wanted to. The main reason I didn't go, Ruggs, is because Aaron Rodgers wasn't playing.
Yeah, I know.
I wasn't going to pay $120 and travel from Connecticut to the Meadowlands back and forth, even though it was a good time, to go see Brian Tolzien or whatever, Scott Tolzien.
Scott Tolzien, yeah.
I mean, see, I don't even know the guy's name. That tells you all you need to know right there.
It makes a difference.
So I'm all for quarterback safety, and I get it. The quarterbacks are the draw. No doubt about it from a business standpoint. But now you're starting to affect games and playoff outcomes. And, now this is starting to become not cool.
Basically, the Niners can't win the division now. That was
Yes,
pretty much
they're
curtains
done.
on there. I mean,
Their division's done.
They're just fighting for the wild card now, and that's a big loss for them. Not that they maybe couldn't catch Seattle anyway, but they would have had a chance at 7-3.
And I got news for you. Now they're fighting for the wild card, dude. Because you got Arizona coming up. You got Chicago and Detroit at 6-4. Now all of a sudden, forget about the division. They're fighting for their wall. Now my prediction before the year started of them not making the playoff is approaching fruition here.
Yeah, you did call that.
So I mean, and I'm not trying to brag at the 49ers' expense here. That's a tough. I almost feel bad for them. That was a tough loss. Should not have been a call. First of all, Drew Brees is not a very big man. I've seen him live. He's not a very big man at all. And the fact that he starts like bending down to throw the ball. He goes from being 5'10" to about 5'7".
Sure.
Ahmad Brooks is a big guy. He wasn't trying to rip his head off. He was just trying to make a tackle, make a football play. Okay, he hit him around the collarbone area. Come on. Can the guy make a play? Can the guy make a play on the ball? Terrible call. Not like I said, you're starting to affect games. Don't like it. But unfortunately, that's the NFL today. It's too bad for the 49ers. I didn't think it was a dirty hit. If he came across his head and clotheslined his head, Ruggs, I would have said, okay, you can't do that. I don't think he had any bad intent there. He was just trying to make a play, which he did. Oh, by the way, it's too bad.
What I can't understand, Zook, is, I mean, you go back and you watch, NFL from years ago.
Oof.
I mean, you got Dick Butkus out there clotheslining dudes, and these guys never miss games. I mean, his quarterbacks never miss games, and they're getting hit out of bounds. They're getting, kicked in the chest. I mean, nothing like
those days
it
are
is
over,
now.
bro.
And the quarterbacks, they're right, though, because if you look at the injury rates, it's way higher than it's ever been. And the hitting is less. I mean, it's the lack of contact in practices, the new union rules and the collective bargaining agreements were no two-a-days. Mm-hmm. There's more limited workouts before the season. The OTAs are much, reduced from what they used to be. Mm-hmm. I mean, a lot of these things add up. These guys just aren't. And everybody's bigger, faster, and stronger, too. So, I mean, the hits are a lot worse. But some of these injuries are non-contact injuries. I mean, ACLs, I mean, they're made out of, like, paper mache now. I swear to these guys, they tear them at any little turn on the turf, and they have a torn ACL. Or
I was sure Sproles had a torn ACL. I was positive.
You're almost like we said a few weeks ago with McCoy when he went down, and we were all. It's like you assume they have it now, but it's not like in the past when you're surprised by it. You're surprised when they don't have a torn ACL when they go down.
Right. And
even if it's a cramp, you're like, oh, did he tear his ACL?
Yeah. It's crazy with these ACLs. They're more of a problem than these concussions. I watch the Red Zone. I watch a lot of these games. I don't. And I see more ACL leg injuries than anything else. And like you said, I mean, they are non-contact a lot of the time.
Yeah. Achilles is right on, right behind now. That's like the second.
Biggest
torn Achilles.
I don't know, but these guys are top heavy. Maybe these guys are just too big. Their upper body strength is just so, they're so massive, and their lower half can't support it. So when they make a hard cut or a wrong landing, their Achilles says, "Oh,
yeah, that's a good point."
The ACL can't support it. They can't support that, and then whoop, there it goes. And so it's a problem. It's a problem. But going back to the Breeze hit, come on. That wasn't a dirty hit. The wrong call was made there. Let the guy make a football play. And unfortunately for the San Francisco 49ers, if they don't make the playoffs this year, they're going to go back to that one play.
Sure.
That's the one play they're going to go back to and say, that cost us the postseason.
Yep.
So.
And we also had a big game last night. You had Kansas City and Denver. It was. I thought Kansas City made a good account of themselves. Their defense did, especially. They're not quite ready for a Super Bowl run. I think a lot of us thought that anyway, even though they were 9-0. Alex Smith is not going to bring you back from a big deficit. Once they got down early, they had their chances. I thought the biggest series of the game was right after Derek Johnson recovered a fumble from Denver. They immediately fumbled on the next play. Fullback, they threw a screen.
Well said.
And he fumbled right away, and it just took the momentum right away from him. And then Denver got up 10-0. And when you get two scores behind Denver and you're Alex Smith, it's real tough to come back because he's not that kind of.
Agreed. Well said, Ruggs. That was a turning point of the game for Kansas City. That was their chance to get back in there. And if they had any chance of an upset, that was their chance right there. They got the big turnover. You got to put in the end zone there, especially against Denver. You know that. You got to score there. And unfortunately, McGrath fumbles the ball and gives it right back to Denver. And that was a game changer. I kind of knew right there it was game over. It was a solid game. The funny thing is this, when I watched that game, it seems as though, honestly, they were both feeling each other out.
Yeah.
It was more
a lot of punts in that game.
Yeah, it was more of a chess match. It was more like, they were feeling each other out. It wasn't like I didn't feel as though the Broncos went all out. I really don't think so. They were trying to really run the ball a lot, which was okay, and Monty Ball had 2 touchdowns. The young man broke out, and Moreno really carried the load. Didn't have his yards per carry wasn't that high, but didn't need to be. He controlled the pace. He wore him down and allowed Monty Ball to come in there and, do some damage there by the goal line, which is, I guess that was Denver's plan of attack, and it worked. And Peyton Manning made the plays when he had to make them.
Right.
He didn't light up the skies, but he made some big throws, big plays. He threw a couple passes to Demaryius Thomas. That touchdown drive when he threw the big one to Demaryius Thomas, which really kind of broke the game open for the Broncos there. Yeah, I like what the Broncos did. I like, but I think the Chiefs, their defense showed me something. I like their defense a lot.
Very good defense.
And I'll even go out. I'll even say it right now. I really think they're going to win that game in Kansas City.
I do too. I agree.
I think they're going to win that football game. I think Jamal Charles really he really couldn't get it going there. Last night. I think that can change out in Kansas City. I mean, you could see the first play. The first play of the game, false start. That kind of Denver's home field advantage showed itself last night. In the early stages, first play of the game. So, and that can. Two could play that game.
Right.
So
when you're a power team like Kansas City is on offense, you can't get in 1st and 15. I mean, Denver, if they get in 1st and 15, it's not a big deal. They'll still pick up the first downs.
Right.
Kansas City, it just changes the playbook, what they can do. And with Alex Smith, when you're not, he's the highest quarterback in the league as far as percentage of throwing under 10-yard passes.
But he throws high percentage throws.
Exactly. So you're not going to pick up. You don't want to be 1st and 15.
Right. Or 2nd and 12,
exactly.
3rd and 8 with Alex Smith.
Right. If you stay manageable down in distance, you'll have success if you're Alex Smith.
I agree. Offense. They don't have very big playmakers on offense either at the receiving end. Dwayne Bowe is starting to play a little better, but Dwayne Bowe on most teams is not a number 1 receiver. I mean, he's throwing to Spath and Sherman. You look at some of these guys, it's like Fasano. Come on, these guys don't have the weapons. You look at. I'm sure Alex Smith would love to just say, hey, man, let me borrow Eric Decker for a game.
Dwayne Bowe might still be in a purple haze, too. You don't know. Had a little issue over the weekend during the bye.
Oh, yeah.
Leave it at that.
Hey, young man, you know how fast you were going? Hell no.
The Sonic still open? That's what I heard that he asked.
Oh, did he say
I heard he asked the cop if Sonic was still open. That's pretty bad.
Nice. He should be hanging out with Harold and Kumar. Go Dwayne Bowe. And he scores nonetheless.
Yeah,
ironically enough.
Yeah.
So I mean, like I said, it's Denver. They came out and won the game. It wasn't that impressive. Perhaps maybe Denver is holding back for that game at KC because they really didn't look like. And maybe Peyton Manning was worried about the ankle. The ankle was on his conscience there, and he was kind of seeing how his ankle would hold up, and it held up pretty well. I think he looked pretty mobile for For Peyton Manning. He made a couple of moves when Tamba Hali was after him. He made one nice move in the fourth quarter to get away. His throws looked okay. He made some good throws. I mean, I didn't see him limping. He didn't. And the big thing was, and Chris Collinsworth pointed it out, he didn't take any big hits.
No,
and that was
didn't.
big for him. His line did well, and he got rid of the damn football. And that's what I thought he was going to do the whole game. And that's one thing I was saying before the game. I said, you're not going to see Peyton Manning sitting in the pocket for 7 seconds, throwing the ball downfield. They're going to look for something short, fast throws, and running the ball, which they did.
They definitely did. And I was going to touch on that. He didn't hurry up the tempo. He didn't force the pace like you've seen him in some of the games where they're scoring 45 or 50 points. He played methodically. He was I think he was a little unsure of how steady that offensive line was with all the new personnel. He wanted to, he didn't want to put extra pressure on them by getting in that kind of formation. I thought they did a good job with, like you said, a lot of 7 or 8 yard outs to Wes Welker, to Demaryius Thomas. It was a lot of quick hitters, and I thought that, like you said, Moreno had a big part in the game plan. And then Monty Ball down at the goal line. You don't fear Kansas City's ability to match you in a shootout, so you don't have to worry about maybe putting 30 or 40 points on the board. Plus, the defense of Kansas City, you're not going to easily put those kind of points up. So I think he played the smart game.
Yeah, agreed. I think what Denver showed, the biggest thing I take away from that game is Denver showed you the ability that they can beat you in more ways than one. They don't have to. They don't have to light it up and throw the ball 60 yards downfield to beat you and put up 50 points. They can play a grind-it-out type of game, and that's dangerous.
Yeah, and
that's dangerous. So basically, what I take away from that game last night, they proved to everyone that they're the team to beat.
They are. I agree, and they in the AFC definitely. They played a good, solid defensive game too, because their defense has come under some fire for maybe that they're not a complete team, that they're too offensive-centric, but I really thought that they played a solid defensive game last night.
Well said. Yeah.
And then, we had the local action. The Jets got obliterated. I'm sure, you loved every minute of that.
Let's go, Buffalo.
And then you got the Giants who are,
Grounded.
they're back from the dead, play their theme music from Night of the Living Dead because they are back. I picked them to win the division, and I look like the biggest idiot, I'll tell you, when they started 0-6, but they're right in there now, Zook, with that win over Green Bay yesterday.
We were talking about that a couple weeks ago, and they have had some lucky breaks. Let's be honest, they have. They didn't get to face Aaron Rodgers. Not to say that they couldn't beat the Aaron Rodgers-led Packers, because they beat them in the playoffs a couple years ago when the Packers were 15-1, but that helped. When you don't have to go against Aaron Rodgers and Randall Cobb and Jermichael Finley, that helps. So, but hey, they're winning the games they're supposed to win. You're supposed to win those games, and they did. You're supposed to beat the Oakland Raiders. They did. You're supposed to beat a disheveled Philadelphia Eagles team. They did.
Right.
With the game I was at. No Nick Foles. So, yeah, they've had some lucky breaks. But you know what? Those are games you're supposed to win. No one's going to sit here and say the Giants are going to win the Super Bowl. No way. I'm sorry to say, come on. They're not going to win a Super Bowl. They're not going to go to New Orleans in the postseason and beat the Saints.
Seattle.
Or forget it. Forget it. Let's not. But can they pull this off?
It might be in the playoffs, though. That's the point.
If they pull this off, this would be something miraculous. I hope they do it. The Giants are showing some heart. It was only a month ago where people were talking about Tom Coughlin being jettisoned from the team. He's too old.
Yeah.
And get rid of him. And now this team is talking about winning a division. It's going to be a great game. I wish I could be there, to be honest with you. The place, MetLife Stadium is going to be rocking. It's going to feel like an NFC title game, to be honest with you. Forget about the records. Forget about everything that's happened. Forget it. This is their season. The crowd's going to be into it. It's Cowboys.
Yeah.
And
I really don't want to hear Troy Aikman anymore telling me how good the Cowboys are. I mean, he's just going on and on. Oh, they're just a break here and a break there. He was on,
he's not as bad as Irvin.
No, but he was on a radio show. I won't drop names, but on a radio show talking about how they're just a break here and a play here. They could be 7-3 or 8-2, and maybe if they take the next step, they'll be one of the elite teams in the NFC. I see him coming back the other way, and I don't want to hear. You got the pundits also talking about how they think Washington's ready to go on a run, and RG3 is going to lead them. I mean, even if they run the table and go to 9-7, they're going to be lucky to get in. I think they're done.
I agree. The Redskins are
and I don't trust Philadelphia either, so why not the Giants?
I like what I'm seeing from the Giants. Not even so much offensively, but I'm loving what they're doing on defense. I got to give credit to Jerry Reese. That John Beeson pickup, what an acquisition.
Yeah, he was.
What an acquisition. And look, it worked out for both teams because now Carolina hasn't missed a beat, but the Giants now have gone from a joke on defense to playing very well on defense. So great job by Jerry Reese. Hey, let's see where this goes. Let's see how far this run can go. I guess we can maybe do some picks later, and we'll touch on that. But I like the Giants this week. I think they've got a lot of momentum. I think they can win the game. I mean, the Cowboys' defensive line is a mess right now.
I don't trust them on defense at all.
Oh, forget it. So we'll see.
We all know what we feel about Romo. We've talked about that in past episodes.
Yes, we have.
How much we trust him. So we're gonna go to a break here on the Zuki and Ruggs Show, and we'll be right back, and we'll touch on some NBA perhaps a little later on, maybe some NHL, and then we'll get into our picks. So see you in a few.
Everybody hates car accidents, especially from bad brake pads. So choose Callahan brake pads. They're durable, dependable, and come with an outstanding sales and customer service. Tommy Callahan says,
Our new brake pads are really cool.
but if you do think that other brake pads are just as good, just ask our associate what happens when you choose the other guy's brake pads.
You're driving along, and all of a sudden the kids are yelling from the back seat, I gotta go to the bathroom, Daddy. Not now. Truck tire. I can't stop. Help!
Don't set your family on fire. Choose Callahan brake pads.
This is the American Dream, Dusty Rhodes, and you're listening to the All Noise Radio Network. Now back to my main man, the Zuki and Ruggs Show.
Welcome back to the Zuki and Ruggs Show, and we're going to jump right into our NFL picks for week number 12. Already almost 3/4 of the season down. Very hard to believe how quick it does go.
It's like life, man.
Yeah. We're going to start with our Thursday night game, which is not much of a battle here, but, it's NFC South rivalry. You got the Saints and the Falcons going at it. You got the Saints who are looking for the number 1 seed and the Falcons who are looking for the mailbox because they've mailed it in. They got their stamps all ready to go. They're thinking about getting the number 1 pick.
Yeah, vacations. They're measuring Jadeveon Clowney on a Falcons jersey right now. They're sending them to a
tailor. Boy, do they need him.
They're sending them to a tailor in Georgia.
I would normally say that these rivalries between these two teams, you always have tight battles between the Saints and the Falcons over the history since they both came in the league in the same year in 1966. They don't like each other. They're going to play tough. I'm sure the Falcons will, they'll bring the rah-rah. I'm sure, they're going to talk on a national game. They're going to, they'll sound good in pregame huddle, but after a quarter and a half of seeing Drew Brees march up and down the field, they're going to fold, and it's going to be a rout. So I'm taking the Saints big time here.
You know what? I'm going with the Falcons. I'm so tired of your negativity.
We are recording now. This is going to count as your pick.
I'm so tired of your negativity towards your team, Ruggs. Maybe if you showed some optimism, this team would perform. Damn it! No, not really. If the Saints are going to crush them. I hate to say it. Hey, listen, it's just been a nightmare season for the Atlanta Falcons. Unfortunately, Julio Jones going down, a lot of injuries. The defense was maligned to begin with, and now they've just totally been exposed as being just not very good, just totally inept. I can't see them. Unfortunately, I agree with what you're saying. I totally agree. They're going to show pride. They're home. They're national television. It is a division rival, so they're definitely going to come out fired up trying to win the game. But I think, as you said, overall, as the game progresses, they're just not going to be able to sustain any type of opposition or any type of fight. And the Saints are just going to exploit their flaws.
They do. They don't get to the quarterback, and they don't cover anybody. That's just a bad combination.
Yeah,
their linebacker play is poor, and Witherspoon out. Hasn't helped that cause, but they're going to.
I can see Pierre Thomas is running all. Just Bobby Rainey's still running on him. Bobby Rainey's still running to the goal line in Tampa. There, it's a mess in Atlanta. You just got to hope that, fortunately, just get through the year and maybe you end up with Clowney.
That's what I think. That's what the hope is down there
at this point. Well, screw it.
Yeah.
You don't want to lose games intentionally.
No, they
won't because Matt Ryan's there and Tony Gonzalez. Those guys, Roddy White's back. So they're not gonna intentionally quit. But I think
they still have road games with the Packers, the 49ers. They got this game with the Saints.
I don't even see them beating Buffalo next week.
They got to go to Toronto to play Buffalo next week. They got Carolina at home, which is going to be. They may not win again.
I don't think they're gonna. I don't think they're going. I don't think they're going to. I hate to say. I don't see them winning another game. Maybe the Buffalo. I don't even think so.
I would pick Buffalo.
Maybe the Buffalo game is. I think it's the only game I could see them perhaps winning is the Buffalo game, and maybe Green Bay if everyone's still out.
Yeah, if it stayed like this, they'd have a chance.
Yeah,
but Ryan would have to be on top of his game that day because their defense just
with Roddy White back, perhaps that's the one game. But if Rodgers is back for Green Bay, forget it. So yeah, it's not looking good for the Falcons, but. Yeah, we'll roll with the Saints there, and it looks like the Saints will continue to roll in the NFC South and get the 9-2 and look to sustain that number 2 seed and try to put pressure on Seattle to get that number 1 seed, even though Seattle's on a bye this week.
And that game coming up shortly with the Saints traveling to Seattle on a Monday night. It's going to loom very large.
Yes, it is. I think it could be for the NFC championship, practically. I think it's more of an NFC championship game because I think we've already kind of said it. It's kind of the general consensus, the train of thought there that whoever gets the number 1 seed in the NFC is definitely going to go to the Super Bowl.
Yeah,
in my opinion,
you definitely want to be the home team, and when you're playing with those two, either venue is just so hard to win on the road. It really would behoove either team to make sure they get that number 1 seed, and they're going to have a chance to really play basically outright for it. So that'll be a big one.
That's going to be a great game. I'm sure ESPN's going to be loving that one. They probably can't wait to rubbing their hands together. We're gonna jump to the 1:00 games on Sunday. Ruggies. We got the New York Football Jets, who are still in the wild card lead for one of the wild card spots at 5-5, coming off a drubbing, coming off an embarrassing defeat at the hands of the Buffalo Bills. They travel out to Baltimore to face the defending Super Bowl champions, who are coming off a tough loss in Chicago.
We didn't even get into that in the previous segment. How you want to make $200 million if you're Joe Flacco. I mean, you got to put the ball in the end zone there.
You got to
terrible.
You got to score a touchdown.
Job.
Well said, Ruggs. You got to score there. Even if you just will yourself on a QB sneak, put that ball in the end zone.
Definitely.
I agree with that. Just a bad loss. Even though Ray Rice showed signs of life.
Yeah, big for them. And I think that could be big this week because
they're
going
to
stop the run.
Yeah, we'll see if Ray Rice can, carry over that momentum into the game at Baltimore. I like Baltimore. I know that the Jets have been one good game, one bad game, one good game, one bad game. But the thing is this, if you look at it, when they've had their bad game, which have been on the road, the Tennessee game and the Cincinnati game, they came back home to face New England, who they defeated, and then they came back home after the Cincinnati game and they defeated New Orleans.
Right.
They're not coming back home this time.
No,
and
I
think that's going to be the big story. That's not going to bode well for the Jets. I'm sure the Jets wish they were going back home to MetLife Stadium. They're not. They're going back to a hostile Baltimore. And Baltimore's playing for their season. They're 4-6 now. This is their season, and they still have a puncher's shot at the wild card. Baltimore. They're 2.5 out of the AFC North. So they're really looking at the wild card. They need this game. I think it does not bode well for the Jets. This is kind of a playoff game, actually, because if the Jets lose
tiebreaker, yeah.
Definitely. This is a big tiebreaker. You're putting pressure on Geno Smith. I take Joe Flacco in a pressure game like that. I'm rolling with the champs.
Yeah, I'm going to take Baltimore also. I am not comfortable picking the Ravens because they have not looked good this year really at all, but especially when I've picked them, they've kind of let me down. So in some big spots, but I will take them once again because the Jets never play well in Baltimore. They never have since since the Ravens were formed. They've always had trouble. And I just think even though the Ravens I think will have trouble running the ball against the Jets, I just don't see the Jets offense being able to do much against the Baltimore defense. Now you got to worry, how Geno Smith's going to respond to getting yanked from the game. Yesterday, he'll either bounce back and account himself well, or he'll tank. And the Baltimore defense, one thing that they can do is force turnovers. And I see Geno Smith just likes to serve turnovers up on a platter, and I see that happening a few times. And like you said, raucous crowd he's going to go into. Baltimore has to have this game for their playoff hopes. They're probably out of the division race now, 3 games down to the Bengals, actually 2.5 games down to the Bengals, but they can still win the wild card if they put a few together, and they got to have this tiebreaker against the Jets. I'm going to take Baltimore.
Nice. Well said, Ruggies. All right, 1 o'clock, the Pittsburgh Steelers, who are also right back in the mix. They were a team that I had dead to rights. A lot of guys did, and suddenly they've put 2 wins together, and a little help from Baltimore losing. The Jets have come back to the pack a little bit. They're only 1 game behind the Jets for that 1 wild card, and they have the tiebreaker because they defeated the Jets last month. I saw that game in person. Fun game that was. So yeah, the 4-6 Pittsburgh Steelers travel to the 4-6 Cleveland Browns. What do you think about that game, Ruggies?
This is a tough one because Cleveland's playing a lot better. Mm-hmm. I like them under the direction of Jason Campbell. I think he gives them a real chance to win. Roethlisberger, he comes out and plays like he did this past week. I have no decision at all. I'm taking Pittsburgh big time, but you never know. He can be very up and down. The defense still is not playing that great. They did have a big second half against Detroit, but Detroit really, for 3 quarters was kind of moving the ball at will. I'm going to take Pittsburgh, but it's almost like flip a coin, 13-10 kind of game. You're going to be watching that game all day, and you're going to be wondering how it's going to break late. That's my feeling anyway. I'm going to take Pittsburgh in it.
Nice. Cleveland right now is favored by 1 point. I as well am going to go with Pittsburgh. I think they've got something going here. I think it's going to be a blue collar. It's going to be a battle. It's going to be a battle. This is not going to be a pretty game because Joe Hayden. The matchup I really want to see, Ruggs, is Joe Hayden going against Antonio Brown.
Yeah,
because he locked down AJ Green yesterday. Boy, he shut him down. AJ Green had 1 catch for 7 yards. So that and Antonio Brown, who's playing great football right now. I think he's the NFL leading receiver in receptions. He's right there with Megatron in yards. He is having a tremendous year. That's going to be a marquee matchup, man. I can't wait to see that. And now if you take away Antonio Brown, Jericho Cotchery, who has been playing well, needs to step up. Emmanuel Sanders is banged up, so that means Heath Miller is going to have to step up. This could be a troublesome game for Pittsburgh. I'm going to go with Pittsburgh because of the Jason Campbell factor. Although Jason Campbell's played well, I can't believe that Jason Campbell's going to beat the Pittsburgh Steelers and a Dick LeBeau defense. Although Dick LeBeau's defense is no longer an elite defense, they're still pretty good, and they can still cause trouble especially for guys like Jason Campbell. So, I like Pittsburgh there. I don't think Cleveland can really run the ball. Chris Ogbenaya, he's all right.
Yeah, he's a plotter. He's not a real.
Yeah, big threat. So I don't think Pittsburgh's gonna be really worried about the run. I mean, Josh Gordon's tremendous. The kid had a nice long touchdown last night. So Josh Gordon could present some matchup problems for the Pittsburgh Steelers, and they're having trouble with wide receivers. So I could see Gordon having a big play. I could see it being about a 2017 type game, something like that, or maybe even less. I could even see like a 17-14,
right,
something like that. So I'm going to go with Pittsburgh in really a dogfight here. I think it's going to be a real battle because this is both their seasons. Cleveland's going to play with pride too because Cleveland now sees they know they're
still in it.
They're still in it. So they win that game. They're still in it. Pittsburgh, the same thing. That's also going to have like a playoff type atmosphere in Cleveland. I'm sure the dog pound's going to be amped up for that one.
They sure will. And I even think it could come down to a special teams play or something that could change the game.
Absolutely. All right, another 1 o'clock game here. We have the upstart Tampa Bay Buccaneers on the heels of 2 straight wins and an impressive win over the Falcons yesterday. Bobby Rainey looking like, Gale Sayers. I mean, my God, he was unreal yesterday. Heading out to Detroit, who is coming off, and I'm going to say that an inexplicable loss. Jim Schwartz, I mean, do you want to be unemployed? Do you want to get fired? How do you not kick that field goal to put yourself up 7 points? You're on the road. Kick the field goal. Go up 7. This way, if Pittsburgh, you don't have Matthew Stafford out there in the rain and mud trying to, force things and trying to get you downfield for a tie or a win. It's a tie game. He's not playing from behind. On the road, kick the field goal, Schwartz, and shave your goatee. You look like a clown. Unreal. I mean, inexplicable loss.
Yeah, he outsmarted himself. That's what happened.
I think he's an egomaniac. He probably thought we can score at will. Yeah, good call, Jimmy. Well, hopefully Jim he'll drink some pomegranate juice. I heard it's good for your brain. It's good brain food. That Minute Maid pomegranate the juices. So hopefully he has some of that in the morning instead of whiskey, whatever the hell he was drinking in Pittsburgh.
Do you love the way he ripped the media too for questioning him?
No, I didn't even see that.
Yeah, he was a little snip with the media asking him what were you doing, and he's like, that's the way I play, and don't question me. That's a good call there. I saw there was an opening. We could have had a touchdown and put the game away.
Well, he'll have much in common with the people in Detroit. He'll be unemployed. So,
ouch.
Yeah. Let's see how ornery he gets there. Tampa Bay's travel to Detroit. I do like Detroit to win this game. Another unbelievable marquee matchup, Ruggs. We got Darrelle Revis going against Megatron. Unreal. To quote T.O., get your popcorn ready. That's going to be one hell of a matchup. I like Detroit because one thing, I like Reggie Bush. I think Reggie Bush is going to have a big game. I still think Megatron's going to do very well. Will he have 10 catches for 250 yards and 3 touchdowns? Probably not. But it's kind of, I don't care who you are. It's hard to stop that guy. You can contain him. You can try to slow him down, and Revis will do so. But he's so much bigger than He's so massive. Did you see the shot of him after the game when he exchanged jerseys, which was a really nice gesture with Antonio Brown? They exchanged jerseys. You see how much bigger he is than Antonio Brown?
Yeah.
Oh my God, he's a monster. So I still think he's going to do okay against Revis. I don't think Revis has ever played Calvin Johnson, has he, in the years past? I don't remember. Perhaps he has. I don't recall.
I don't recall it myself.
But that's going to be a great matchup. And I think Detroit, they need this game now. This is a must-win for them as well because now they're tied with Chicago for the division. I mean, they're not sweating Green Bay too much anymore, but they're only one game ahead of Green Bay. And now they're in the mix of all these 6-4 teams. Arizona 6-4, San Francisco 6-4. We have a bunch of 6-4s, so they need to kind of separate themselves and get it.
You don't want to go the wild card route,
right?
The NFC especially,
right? So I like Detroit here to get a W.
Yeah, I'm going to pick Detroit too. It wouldn't shock me though if Tampa Bay won this game. The one reason that I can't pick them, I have a tough time seeing Glennon against that pass rush doing real well. I think they're going to be fairly one-dimensional with the running game, and Detroit's going to be able to stack the box up and eventually slow down or stop that running game of Tampa Bay. But Glennon, he's got he's a good prospect. He's got a lot of upside in the future. He's a little awkward though in the pocket, and if you got Ndamukong Suh and company coming after you and really put I have to see him be able to elude that pass rush and really put throws on the money to really be totally confident they can win a game like this. And like you said, there's a lot of desperation in Detroit now. If they go down to 6-5. They're going to be in a lot of trouble. There's a possibility Aaron Rodgers could be back for that Thanksgiving game. He says he thinks he will be. And if they were to lose that game and then also lose to Green Bay, then they're really up a creek. But I think Detroit's going to win this game and stay maybe in the driver's seat, at least for the time being in the division. But, it's certainly a long way to go before they can toast, a division title. But
yeah, every time I see Detroit and I think they're ready to take that next step, they always take a step backwards. And I think it starts with their head coach. I really do. I saw it last night. I always wondered, I was like, what is it about Detroit? Just when you think they're ready to clear that final hurdle to become an elite NFL team, what is it about them that they can't do it?
They're so undisciplined.
It's their head coach, bro. But it is what it is. The Ford family likes him, I guess. But you know what? I think last night he did himself a lot of damage with that decision. Anywho, we got 2 games here. Not very eventful. I don't want to spend too much time on them, Ruggies. I'll just kick them both to you. I don't really care. Minnesota going to Green Bay. I guess it's a big game for Green Bay. Because they are still in the hunt.
They do have to have it. I agree.
So it is a big game for them. They do need it to get to 6-5. And then we got Jacksonville going to Houston. Houston's actually a 10.5 point favorite.
On points, I'd take Jacksonville.
Yeah. So, what do you think, Ruggies, on both those games?
I'm going to take both home teams. I was almost to the point where I was like, I'm not going to pick Houston again because I picked them this week, and I had a gut feeling the Raiders would win, and I wish I stuck with it. But then when Pryor wasn't playing, I'm like, Matt McGloin, are you really serious? Even the Texans can pull this off, and they didn't. I'm still going to pick Houston over Jacksonville because you really don't want to stake your reputation on picking Jacksonville too often. But I do think the 10.5, if I was laying money down, I'm taking the Jags and 10.5. But I'll take Houston to win the game. I'll take Green Bay to win the game because I think they just run and play defense. You can run and play defense against Minnesota. Seattle just kind of pushed them all over the field yesterday. That's kind of the stance I think Green Bay is going to have to take, and they're home and more desperate to stay in the hunt. I'll give the edge to Green Bay and to Houston.
Agreed. I think Green Bay is going to win the game. They'll get back to 6-5. They need the game. Tolzien, he didn't play all that bad against the Giants. He wasn't great, but he wasn't terrible. He still got weapons there. He threw well over 300 yards against the Giants yesterday. And he's got James Jones, Jordy Nelson. He's got some guys there, but I think the key to the success for the Packers is obviously going to be the running game. Eddie Lacy is going to be the key to success there. And I think they'll be able to dictate the pace there and win the game. Although I do think Adrian Peterson will play well. I really do think he will, but it won't be enough. I just think Green Bay can stack the line against Christian Ponder and that inept offense and win the game there. And I agree with you on Houston. I know that they're in turmoil right now, but
my question is who's going to quarterback because they
yanked
what? Keenum for Schaub yesterday, and I really thought it was this good spot where Schaub was going to come in and lead him to a comeback victory, and it was going to take the job back, and he didn't do it.
He didn't do it. Schaub is shot. I was never a big Schaub fan anyway, and now he's just shot. And Andre Johnson looks like he's fed up over there in Houston. I think they interviewed him after the game, and he said, he basically said, I'm here because I have to be because I'm under contract, which is not good.
Yeah, that's not a good sign.
He didn't sit there and say, I want to be a Houston Tech. I want to be here to win. He basically said, I'm here because I'm here because I have to be.
Yeah, I know they love Arian Foster, but Andre Johnson's really the franchise player there. So, you got to have him happy.
Yeah, exactly. So, you know what? This is the last week I'm going to pick Houston, even though I could see Jacksonville winning this game.
I certainly could.
I could see the Jaguars winning this game. The points, definitely. I'm definitely taking the points. Because they actually played pretty tough against Arizona yesterday. They just ran out of gas, and they have no offense. They can't sustain it. But against Houston, what I saw from Matt McGloin, my God, some of the throws he was making, are you kidding me? I'm going to go with Houston here, but I would not be shocked at all. But I'm taking the points on Jacksonville. So in that regard, I'm taking the points. I'm with you on that, Ruggies. But I think Houston will win the game. Then we got San Diego going to Kansas City at 1 o'clock. Kansas City, of course, coming off a loss to Denver, which we already got into. And San Diego coming off another mind-numbing defeat to Miami.
Lose that game yesterday.
It just same coach, same problem. I thought it was North Turner, but you know what? The more I see it, I think it's more Phillip Rivers. And I think it's just a lack of weapons. They have no receivers. I'm watching some of the replays when they do the wide screens of they're breaking down the play. These guys are all covered. They're all covered, and his offensive line's a mess. He was getting hit. He takes bad sacks when he's not supposed to take sacks, and he throws. Phillip Rivers. I like the guy. He's a tough guy, but it's getting to the point in San Diego. I know Pittsburgh had the story earlier that maybe they should get rid of Roethlisberger. I think the bigger story is maybe San Diego should just sit there and say, you know what? Let's get something for Phillip Rivers while we still can.
Right. Zuki, at one time he had in his prime, Antonio Gates. He had Vincent Jackson. Yeah. He had LT.
Darren Sproles.
They still didn't win.
Michael Turner.
And they still didn't win with him. I mean, not the big one. I mean, he did get to an AFC title game.
He did. And he was on a torn ACL.
Yes.
And Gates was on a bad foot.
Oh, I'm not going to question his toughness.
Tomlinson
He's a
didn't
tough
play.
guy. I just mean
their window closed.
Yeah.
Their window closed, Ruggies. And their last shot was even 2009 when they went 12 in a row, when they were 14-2 when they lost to the Jets. That was an inexplicable. You cannot lose that playoff game to the Jets that year. They had the one with where Tom Brady beat him. And that 06, Marty Schottenheimer's last game.
Right.
But then they come back in 2009, and I'm like, okay, well, maybe they've learned from that debacle in 2006, and they didn't. And they just, I don't know, man. Phillip Rivers, unfortunately, I just don't think the guy's a winner.
That's the thing. You said it. You hit it right on the head, Zook.
So, anyway, I'll get back to the game. We're obviously both going with the Chiefs.
Taking the Chiefs.
We think the Chiefs, especially in Arrowhead, they should be able to bounce back there and get to 10-1. At 1 o'clock, we also got we got Carolina at Miami, which is a big game for both teams. Depending on what happens with Carolina tonight, which is going to be a tremendous game tonight, they're either going to be 7-3 or 6-4. Miami, who's back in the hunt at 5-5. I just don't think Miami's going to be able to do. In my opinion, I'm going to take Carolina. I think Carolina's going to be able to dictate the pace of the game via the run. Miami cannot stop the run, and I think DeAngelo Williams and Jonathan Stewart are just going to run the ball down their throats, and that's going to open up play action for Cam Newton. And I expect Greg Olsen to have a huge game as well. Miami has trouble with tight ends for the last few years, and that's really going to open it up for Greg Olsen. And I just like what I'm seeing from Carolina here, and I think Carolina is going to get one of those playoff spots. And they're another one of the teams I actually didn't talk about, Ruggies, being at 6-4. They're another team I forgot about. There's so many of them.
That's the way they like it. They're flying under the radar. They really are.
So I think they're either going to be 7-4 or 8-3, depending on what happens tonight. So I like Carolina in that one.
Yeah, I'm going to take Carolina also. I wouldn't be surprised if it was a close game for some reason. I could see it being.
It's 3.5.
Miami all of a sudden they used to be horrible at home, and you never would pick them at home. They were a much better road team. They've put a couple home wins together this year, and including yesterday's game against the Chargers. I wouldn't be shocked if it was a real tight game going down the stretch, but I think that Carolina front is just going to have Tannehill running for his life.
Oh yes,
they're not a very good offensive line to begin with, and they have holes all over the place, guys out for various reasons, and you got just a nasty front seven for Carolina. I think they're just going to put all kinds of pressure on him, and they may turn him over quite a bit. And I think even if just with the defense, they'll beat him, I think, alone.
Well said. Well said. The final 1 o'clock game we have here, the 6-4 Chicago Bears coming off that epic win against the Ravens at home in overtime to get back in the hunt. We'll see if Jay Cutler's back for this game. He may very well be so. It's still early. We don't know yet. But I think they head into St. Louis to face the 4-6 Rams, who are coming off of a bye week. I just don't see how the Rams can win this game, Ruggies. What do you think, buddy?
Yeah, I'm going to take the Bears. I am impressed, though, the way Kellen Clemens has played. I mean, we really got on him before the Seattle game saying, he gives you no chance to win. And then he goes and pastes the Colts 38-8.
Unbelievable.
And almost and probably should have beaten the Seahawks.
Should have.
On Monday night. but I'm still gonna say that they have a real long shot. I think an uphill battle against the Bears, who have to have this game to stay in that mix, with the 6-4 teams looking for the, not only a wild card spot but the division title. They're very much in the hunt for. I'm going to take the Bears here. I think they'll have half that building rooting for them in St. Louis. They travel well, but it's not that far of a ride to get down to St. Louis for that game. And McCown's playing very well. Very impressed with the way he's leading the team. I thought they were going to have a big drop off when Cutler went out of the lineup, and it hasn't happened. They've been able to, you got Matt Forte, who's just playing at an all-star level. He really, is a Pro Bowler this year. I think, in my book, really the unsung leader of that team on the
Alshon
offensive
Jeffrey's
end.
having a great
He's
year
playing
as well.
great. Marshall, is done a lot less talking, a lot more playing on the field, and you got Martellus Bennett playing, giving them stability out of that tight end spot. Their offense is pretty formidable, and when they get a healthy Cutler back eventually, they're going to be, real tough to contend with late in the season. So I'm going to take the Bears here, but Kellen Clemens could keep him in the game for a while. He's really done a great job, and he doesn't have a lot around him.
Agreed, man. Well said. Yeah, we'll see. Let's see if Tavon Austin can keep it going. Let's see if the bye week. Hopefully, the bye week didn't break the momentum for him, but we'll see. I like the Bears as well. I pretty much echo your sentiments there. I just don't see how Kellen Clemens is going to be able to, keep it going there and beat the Bears. The Bears are playing for the playoffs as well. It's really going to be interesting in the NFC. These teams are really – it's like the playoffs are starting now, bro, for a lot of these teams because there's so many 6-4 teams and so many teams on the cusp, and there's going to be teams that aren't going to make it. Let's just do the math. Just look at some of the teams, and they know it. These guys all know it. They're looking at it. They're looking at the standings right now saying, damn, somebody ain't going to make it. Let's let it not be us. So I think the Bears are going to bring the intensity. They're going to bring it, and I think they're going to find a way to win the football game. All right, Ruggs. Well, we got to take a break, and after this break, we're gonna pick up the rest of the games on All Noise Radio.
Hungry and on your way to or from the beach? Then stop by Nick's Place. Enjoy the good food, including Jancy's famous chili, prepared by owner Steve Kites and his helpful staff. Sit down and enjoy the weather and be treated like family. Everyone loves Nick's Place. Stop by and see what everyone is smiling about.
All Noise Radio.
Powered by Connecticut School of Broadcasting.
Are you the police?
No, ma'am. We're musicians.
All noise, all the time.
All right, we're back here on the Zuki and Ruggs Show. We're going to the 4 o'clock games now, and we got Indianapolis 7-3, who just really got by the Tennessee Titans on Thursday night. They didn't look good for the Colts in the first half, and then they somehow turned it on. Were able to get themselves a victory, a much-needed victory, to get the 7-3. They traveled to the upstart 6-4. It seems like every team in the NFC is 6-4. The 6-4 Arizona Cardinals should be a great game. I really think this is going to be a tremendous ball game. I'm looking forward to it. Probably one of the best 4 o'clock games out there. I mean, I know we got Dallas, New York, but I'm gonna take this one. I'm gonna go with Arizona. They're favored by 1. For some reason, I think the loss of Reggie Wayne is going to be evident here in this game. I really thought Darius Hayward-Bay was going to be able to step up. He has not. He's been a drop machine as he was in Oakland, unfortunately. I don't think T.Y. Hilton's going to be able to break through that Arizona secondary. I love Patrick Peterson, obviously, he's an all-pro corner with Honey Badger over there at safety. Yeah. And he's having a great year as a rookie. He might be like Defensive Rookie of the Year. It's unreal. What an acquisition. What a draft pick by the Cardinals there. Really like their defense. And I think Carson Palmer's playing well. I know their offensive line's a little shaky. That Colt defensive front might get to him. Robert Mathis might give Palmer some, might present a matchup problem for the Cardinals there. But I think they'll be able to withstand it, and I think they'll find a way to win. I like the matchup, and I like the game mostly because they're at home. To be honest with you, I think the game was in Indy. I'd lean towards Indy, but I think since they're at home, I like the Cardinals here.
Yeah, I thought this was going to maybe be one that we differed on because I'm taking the Cardinals also. I thought, it seems like most people want to just in passing talking to them, they seem to be leaning toward the Colts in this game. But matchup wise, I really think it favors Arizona, and it's a tough place to play. It's not really given enough credit for being, you don't see a lot of teams go out there and come away with wins. I mean, unless you're an elite team, Seattle, they're going to go in there and get a win. They did this year.
Mm-hmm.
You get a team like, Denver would go in there. New England could go in there.
Mm-hmm.
Teams like that would go in there and still get the win. But, all the rest of the teams that go in there, they come out, with their tail between their legs 3 hours later with a loss. It just seems week in and week out that it's a very tough place to get a win. The one thing, if Arizona just ran the football, I would take them in a second because you can run on the Colts. Tennessee showed that with Chris Johnson having a big game, and teams all year long have been able to run against the Colts. And Arizona, one thing they don't do particularly well is run the football. Mendenhall's been brutal.
They just can't.
And
they can't run it.
You're putting a lot of stock on Carson Palmer not imploding, but he's got a defense that kind of backs him up. They let him have a mistake or two a game, and they're still in the game because his defense kind of has his back. They step up and make big plays for him and hold the other team down. Luck, again, they can't get way behind again. He can't keep coming back from 17-0 down in the first half or whatever these various obstacles he's had to, deficits he's had to bring him back from in the last few weeks. He's living very dangerously. I can see him getting behind again, and I don't think Arizona is the kind of defense you want to try to rally from, multiple score deficits. So I'm going to take the Cardinals in this one.
Well said, man. Yeah, they don't have Peyton Manning.
Yeah, exactly.
If they had Peyton Manning at quarterback still, maybe they could come back from 17.
And I don't see Donald Brown having a huge rushing game against that defense.
I agree that Arizona's stout against the run. And I don't think Donald Brown will be able to do what he did against Tennessee in Arizona. All right, we have another blasé kind of game, but these are two teams, this point of the year, a lot of teams are still in the mix. Both these teams are still in the mix technically. Not a very sexy game. We got the Tennessee Titans, the aforementioned Titans, who lost a tough game at Indy on Thursday, and also had an inexplicable loss the week before to Jacksonville. I mean, you can't. How do you lose that game? You get a chance to get back in. You get a chance to not even just the playoffs, division.
Yeah, the last 2 weeks are going to define their season because they had a real chance and they blew them.
Yeah,
blew both games.
Exactly. So they got to now travel to Oakland, who's hot right now. I mean, putting aside the Giant game, which they still played pretty well in, considering they were across the country and on the road, they still played pretty well, and especially Pryor was banged up. Pryor wasn't right, and then, of course, he didn't play yesterday. We'll see if he plays, but even if he doesn't, I like what I saw from McGloin. Oakland's favored by 1 this week. Tennessee, I mean, you think they're the better team on paper. You think Chris Johnson's going to have a big game, which he may very well do so. But I think Rashad Jennings is going to have a big game. He had a great game yesterday against the Houston Texans, running for 150 yards and a score. I like Oakland here. They're home, and I think they got something cooking, even with McGloin. So I'm going to go to Oakland here.
It's like that bad ex-girlfriend you're like, I'll never go back again and do it again, and you do it every time. I swear I'm never going to pick Oakland again, especially at home. They let you down every time, but I'm going to pick them again. You said about Chris Johnson having a big day. I could also see him having 10 carries for 12 yards. It wouldn't shock me either.
I know. That's Chris. He's eclectic.
Which Matt McGloin's going to show up is the only question I have. If he makes a lot of mistakes, then Tennessee has a good enough defense to be able to exploit. They actually have, a decent secondary. Mm-hmm. Tennessee they don't do anything really well. They have a lot of, they're okay. They're just, like you said, blasé is a great term for them. That's just what they are as a team. I think Oakland has more talent on the field offensively right now than Tennessee does. Mm-hmm. And I'm going to lean toward them, I think. And even though it doesn't make any difference with Oakland, I'm maybe because, they're home. Most teams you'd say you lean toward them in a close game because they're home. I almost am tempted to go the other way because of that, but I'm still going to take Oakland anyway.
All right, man. Then we got one of the big ones, the main event of the 4:25 game, which or the 4 o'clock games, excuse me. This is the game we touched on earlier, of course. It's the Dallas Cowboys, the 5-5 Dallas Cowboys, traveling to MetLife Stadium to take on the resurgent New York Football Giants. In a world where the Giants were 0-6, now they're within 1 game of the division. I'm sorry, game and a half.
It's just how I drew it up when I picked the Giants in preseason. I said, they're going to start 0-6 and they're still going to win the division.
So, I'll let you go ahead, Rugg. I mean, you kind of touched on this earlier, but I guess to reiterate on your pick, what do you think, Rugg?
Yeah, I think we might be in somewhat of an agreement on how this one might shake down. I like the Giants. I don't trust Dallas. I don't know what it is.
Tony
every
Romo?
year. I think it's the same thing like we talked about with Rivers. The guy just doesn't have the winning gene. I don't know what it is. There's just something that he just doesn't have.
He doesn't have it.
He doesn't have it, exactly. He has got talent. He actually has the playmakers around him. I mean, he doesn't have the excuses that Rivers has.
Right.
You know, he's got the Des Bryant around him. He's got DeMarco Murray's a capable back. He's got Jason Witten, who's one of the best tight ends in the league. You know, he really doesn't have as much room for excuses as Rivers does. But everybody tends to cut Tony Romo, a lot of breaks. And I'm kind of getting tired of doing it for the guy. He doesn't produce. He's not usually in November. This is his time of year. Usually he's picking up the wins now, and then he's going to, he implodes after Thanksgiving. But he's starting it early this year. They got killed. They just weren't competitive against New Orleans after that first quarter. They were pretty much embarrassed in their defense, especially. They what can't believe I'm saying is they miss Rob Ryan. It's unbelievable. But they don't. I don't think he'd have made a difference this year. I mean, it's personnel, but Sean Lee's out and all that too. I like the Giants. I could see them giving them a butt kicking too. It wouldn't shock me if they beat them 34-10.
I'm going to go with the New York Football Giants as well to win the game. I'm going to go that far as saying that I could see them blowing them out. Just the Giants, if they were going to blow anybody out, it would have been yesterday, and even then it wasn't. They didn't even blow the Packers out.
They're not playing great either.
That would have been the game for them, I think. But I see what you're saying. You're right. The Cowboys, you don't know which Cowboy team's going to show up. And maybe this bye week has helped Dallas. Let's see how they come off the bye.
Well said, because that could be key.
But you're right. This is Tony Romo, and unfortunately, I've buried him, and I've also tried to stick up for him, and it just doesn't work. Tony Romo this is a big game for the Dallas Cowboys. They need this football game as well. They need to win this game to get back in the first place tie with the Philadelphia Eagles. And I don't think it's going to happen. I think the Giants have just got something cooking right now. They've got a lot of momentum. Like we said earlier, they're not playing lights out. It's not like they're crushing teams, and they're not beating starting quarterbacks. They're not beating starting quarterbacks. And Tony Romo's definitely going to be the best quarterback they've faced in about 6 weeks.
Yeah.
He definitely is. So we'll give Tony Romo some credibility on that one. I mean, he's not Matt Barkley. He's not Scott Tolzien. So this is gonna be a battle. I mean, and you got to go against Des Bryant. And the Cowboys have a week to rest here. Although I don't think a week's going to help DeMarcus Ware. Sean Lee is definitely out.
Right.
And Ware just looked like a shell of himself the last week against the Saints. It was actually quite embarrassing.
Yeah, he probably shouldn't have played.
I agree. He should not have played. I don't know what the heck they were trying to do there anyway. But yeah, I mean, I'm going to go with the Giants here. And it seems like late in the year that the Giants always tend to beat the Cowboys this time of the year. They always tend to beat them. Especially, MetLife, well, anywhere anyway. But anyway, I'm going to go with the Giants there to get back to 5-6 and get back to within one full game of the Eagles. And, we'll see if they can pull this off. That would be something, man. 0-6. They'll be the first team, ever. Without a shadow of a doubt. I don't think a team even 0-4 has gone.
Yeah, I'd have to look that up.
I don't
if it's 0-4, then that would be the capper. It definitely hasn't been more than 0-4.
No. I think even 0-4 a team hasn't made it. I don't even think so, bro. But 0-6, that would be incredible.
So bad. That division's so bad.
It is a joke. Well, hey, it is what it is. They'll win it. They'll hang a little banner, make a little T-shirt, make a little money, and then go get crushed by the, 49ers or something. Or go get crushed by the Saints. We got an 8:30 game here. This is a big one. Huge. Another marquee matchup. Got a good week here in the NFL, Ruggies.
Yeah, there's 12. Some good games.
I'm really impressed. This is really going to be tremendous. And again, NBC is going to be raking it in. They're going to be loving this one. The 9-1 Denver Broncos. Peyton Manning goes back to his favorite place on earth, Gillette Stadium, Foxborough, Massachusetts. He loves it there, boy. I tell you, woo! That's always great TV. Peyton Manning in Foxborough. You see Peyton Manning audibling, Omaha, Carolina, hut. You see Belichick sitting there with that scowl on his face with the hood over his head. Yeah. He almost looks like Darth Sidious, doesn't he, from Star Wars? It's like, Peyton, join the dark side. Darth Brady. He's like, I will unleash Darth Brady upon you. So it's going to be a tremendous football game. I can't wait to see it. Again, we don't know what the New England's record is going to be. They'll either be 7-3 or 8-2. I like Denver here. I think this is going to be obviously a tremendous football game. It's kind of been a cliche so far during our podcast here. It's going to be a great game because we got a bunch of them. It's going to be a tremendous football game. I think Brady's going to be able to. The New England's going to be able to move the football. I think they're going to have success. I don't like Denver's defense, to be honest with you. Now, especially on the road, and Brady's going to be up for this game. They're going to have trouble covering Gronkowski. I could see Ridley having a good game on the ground. Amendola, we'll see. The big story, of course, is going to be Welker going back there, and I think that's going to be the difference. Welker's going to be amped up to just stick it to New England, and you know what? As a fan, I hope he does. I hope Welker sticks it to New England. I really hope I hope Welker has like 22 catches for like 199 yards and like 4 touchdowns. I don't know where I came up with those numbers, but they're the first numbers that popped in my head. But that's going to be big. I really think the Broncos are going to take this game. I think they're going to have trouble in general covering Demaryius Thomas and all these guys. Just too much for the Patriot defense. I could see it being a potential shootout, depending on the weather. It's going to be late. Let's see how the weather's looking there in Foxborough. But I think Denver's just going to have too much, and I also think they're going to be able to get to Brady a little bit with Von Miller and guys like that. Put pressure on Brady, and I can see Denver taking this game.
Yeah, this is one that almost just deciding now because it's just such a back and forth kind of game. It's hard. I'm kind of glad because we're going to have one difference in the whole game because we've been pretty much on key with each other. I'm going to take the Patriots. Mm-hmm. Again, like your head you sit down and you crunch the numbers, and I'm like, you got to lean toward Denver. You see all the numbers they put up, but when you give Belichick that one target that Peyton Manning's kind of been his target for basically his whole career, but you give him one player that he can take and kind of draw a target around and circle and figure out ways to stop. He tends to have success doing that, and to slow this offense down, that would be something he really would take as a feather in his cap this year because everybody's talking about how great the offense is. I do see Welker coming in and scoring a touchdown. I think I'd bet some real money that Welker scores at least the one touchdown in the game because I think he's just going to have his moment to revel in that against the New England crowd in front of Kraft and all of them. But I'm still going to take the Patriots in this game. I think their running game can really have a big night. They can control the clock and I think that's the way they're going to go at beating Denver. They're going to try to win the time of possession. I think they're going to use Vereen, who's just coming back for tonight's game, and Stephen Ridley, and try to really, really put the Denver defense on their heels and beat them that way. The way that, I think Kansas City wanted to do it last night and just wasn't able to get going with it. Charles just, he had the one big run, but he really didn't control the clock and control the time of possession and the line of scrimmage. I think that's what New England's going to shoot for and try to beat them that way. I think it'll be a close game. It'll be a great game. Another real good Sunday night game. The ratings. It's very odd you see a team back-to-back weeks on prime time like that on Sunday night. But just the way the schedule fell with the flex game, Denver's going to be on back-to-back. So, Denver needs this game, more than you'd think because they got to, go right back and play Kansas City again on the road. They don't, and we already talked about how we think Kansas City is going to take them in that rematch, and you don't want to start putting 2 losses that close together, and they're chasing for that number 1 seed. They don't want to go the wild card route because they may get Foxborough again. Yeah, if that happens. So, right. But I am taking New England here, even though the logic, looking at the lineups and the numbers and all that stuff, would tend to lean toward Denver. But I'm taking New England. All right, and then we got the Monday night game, which we'll touch on in a little bit here. San Fran 6-4, which we talked about earlier. Coming off the heels of a really deflating defeat to the Saints, a game they probably should have won, could have won, would have won if it wasn't for a yellow flag. They travel out to Washington, who've come off 2 bad losses, especially. I know I've used this word a lot, but it fits for the week before. Another inexplicable loss to the Minnesota Vikings last Thursday night.
How do you lose that game to the Vikings? That was just a terrible job. Another coach I'm down on. I'm sorry. I'm just going to touch on real quick. Mike Shanahan, got to be the most overrated coach. Most overrated coach I've seen perhaps ever. The guy's done nothing since John Elway left, and that was
I think his best days are behind him.
And bro, that was a long time ago when John Elway packed it up. Long time ago. I mean, John Elway's ready for AARP. And that's
They showed Elway last night. He is getting up there.
Yeah, I mean, and it's like he's won one playoff game since then. I mean, bro, the resume post Elway is terrible, and it showed. I mean, now he's got his son over there. The apple don't fall far from the tree. Another inept play caller there. I can't see the Redskins, winning this football game. I thought they'd have something for him a few weeks ago, and even before the season started. I think this is one game I actually had the Skins kind of winning, but got to give it to the Niners. I mean, I just can't see them. The Redskins got nothing. I can't see them winning this game, and I can't see the Niners losing 3 in a row, and they're going to be ticked off about that game. And again, I'm going to beat a dead horse. I'm sorry, but it's just the way it's going now. They're 6-4. They need a win to stay in that wild card hunt, just like everybody else does. And they're going to be motivated. And I know. I just think they're a better team. That's the bottom line. And they're not going to lose 3 games in a row. Frank Gore is going to be able to run the ball. And I like the Niners to win that game.
Yeah, no, your point's well taken about them needing the game. I don't think it's beating a dead horse. I mean, it's just a reality now. It's every game is so crucial. Like you said, maybe had they gotten that win and been feeling real good about themselves going down and winning the game in a big easy there yesterday, maybe I could see this being a little bit of a trap game because, Washington does have talented players. I mean, they got RG3, they got Pierre Garçon. It's not – they're always live in a game. They could always, show up. I mean, we saw it against Denver. They had them a little bit, scared in the second half, had them down and, before Denver responded and blew them out. They're not that kind of team that you say, wow, they just have no weapons, they have no chance. But I really like at 3-7, I don't want to hear anymore. I said it before about them, going on this run. I keep hearing about this run. They're not going to go on this major run. They're going to lose to the Niners, I believe, on Monday night, and that's the final shovel of dirt. They're not going to. They'll be 3-8, and that'll be it.
Yeah, I think the transmission stalled on that magic carpet ride.
Yeah,
no doubt about it. Well said, Ruggs. All right, well, we got to take a break here on All Noise Radio. When we come back, we're going to touch a little bit on the NBA and the NHL.
We got a new season starting. Excitement.
We got some things to touch on, and we're also going to touch a little bit on Donovan McNabb. He stirred up a little controversy this past weekend about Jimmy Johnson being not an athlete, huh? We'll see about that. We'll talk about that when we come back here on All Noise Radio.
Listless? Can't always get the engine started? Get back into the game with 5-Hour Energy. 5-Hour Energy will reinvigorate you without giving you that crashing feeling. Take advantage of every day by using 5-Hour Energy. Use it in the morning after a tough night, in the afternoon when you hit the wall, or at night when you have that loving feeling. 5-Hour Energy, found at many locations, including your local drug or convenience store.
All Noise Radio.
Shut up! Shut up! Shut up!
The noise you can't ignore. All right, we're back here on All Noise Radio, the Zuki and Ruggs Show. I'm sitting here donning my red Derrick Rose basketball jersey here, in commemoration of the upcoming and now pretty new NBA season going on here. My Chicago Bulls are sitting there at 5-3 on the heels of an epic win against the previously undefeated Indiana Pacers on Friday night.
Yep,
Great win by the Bulls. Signature win, and again they break a streak. They're streak busters, these Bulls. I tell you, if you got a streak,
tough, yeah.
if you got a streak and you go against the Bulls, you're going down. They broke Miami's long winning streak last year. They broke the Knicks' long winning streak last year as well. I think it was a home winning streak or something they broke. I think it was something ridiculous. They're just streak busters, these Bulls. So no surprise that they did it to the Pacers. Very excited about the upcoming NBA year, man. I think we're gonna have. I think it's gonna be wide open. I know that obviously. The Miami Heat are the 2-time defending champions, but I think their road's going to be very hard to get back to the finals for the 4th straight year and, do the three-peat. I think it's going to be very difficult. There's so many teams now in the East, the Bulls with Derrick Rose back, and I think as the season progresses, you will see Derrick Rose return to MVP form. The Pacers, who are just, my God, are just really good. and are showing that early. They're not getting off to a slow start there at 9-1. And we'll see what these other teams can do. We had the Brooklyn Nets making some big moves, but unfortunately, they're not really working out as we speak. What are you thinking about the NBA, Ruggs? I mean, the West is looking still good. I mean, the Spurs are 9-1 as well. So anybody thinking that they were going to feel sorry for themselves and hang their heads after losing a tough NBA final, forget that. The Spurs are saying, no, we're right back to business as usual there. What do you think about the NBA, Ruggs, as a whole?
Wow, there's just a lot to talk about. In the East, I think the new kings on the hill, the new leaders of the block might be, like you said, the Indiana Pacers. If they get that Eastern Conference #1 seed and everything's got to go through Conseco Fieldhouse, I think it's going to be tough to knock them off. Mm-hmm. I really do. I like the Bulls, though. I like with Rose back. I think they got a real shot at being maybe that 2 or that 3 seed, and along with Miami. They have trouble. Rose always has problems with LeBron head-to-head. Matchup-wise, they would probably rather let Indiana and Miami tussle and then go the other and play the winner. Because I actually like the way the Bulls match up with Indiana a lot.
Right, I agree.
I don't like their matchup with Miami, whereas I like Indiana's matchup with Miami better than Chicago. It's you know what I mean by saying that. It's kind of because it's all matchup based, but the East is just tough to figure out. You got 3 real heavyweights. The Knicks are showing that they're a real disappointment.
Yeah.
They'll make the playoffs. They'll be like the 7 or maybe even the 8. I mean, if it really goes, but they're not going anywhere this year. I think a lot of people kind of saw the handwriting on the wall. They didn't make a lot of major moves. They signed Bargnani and, did a couple of little, they kept some guys. They kept J.R. Smith. They paid him and they did something. I mean, they're all complimentary players. No, real superstars to kind of, and if anybody could play with Melo.
Yeah.
They didn't get anybody like that. I mean, it's a tough.
That locker room seems like it's in turmoil right now, man. You got basically Melo calling guys out, saying that nobody's trying, and then he's trying to bring in Rajon Rondo.
Yeah.
And what does that say to Raymond Felton and guys like that? I tell you, the Knicks could just turn into a real big mess.
Yeah, I mean, it wouldn't shock me if they just imploded and missed the playoffs entirely.
And they turn around and maybe on worst case is probably they just turn around and say, you know what, let's just get rid of Carmelo.
Carmelo's he's a tough teammate. He always has been. Not a lot of guys
you know him
with
as being a Nugget fan.
Yeah, and I mean, in that environment, it was a little different because he just didn't have the personality or the personnel, I should say, around him, and he didn't have the microscope of the media of New York around him either. Right. So he got away with it a little more. But that's my thoughts on the East. I'm still good. If somebody said you have to pick right now immediately who's going to win the East, I'll still pick Miami until somebody knocks them off because it's you got the best player in the world playing on your team. It's tough to pick against you, because if you really need a win, you like to have LeBron on your side rather than on the other side. The team that I like from what I've seen of them so far this year to win it is Indiana. So it's going to be a real interesting year. 3 or 4 teams, like I said, are very much alive in the East. The West is even more intriguing.
Oh, wide open.
I don't like them personally because they took my team out last year, but I love the Golden State Warriors, what I've seen from them. I wouldn't be shocked if they won the West. I know maybe it's a year too soon, but maybe not. I mean, a lot of those guys are, veterans now. You don't think of Steph Curry as a veteran, but he kind of is.
4th year, right?
And Iguodala, that was a great signing.
It was.
I mean,
that was a great pickup. Great acquisition by the Warriors. Yeah. Yep. I like it a lot. I do think the West is completely wide open. If you told me right now, if you broke down every team in the West, I'm telling you, I could give you a reason why they win it.
Yes,
I could sit there and I could go on here and tell you, I give you 5 points as to why the Spurs will go back. I could give you 5 points as to why Oklahoma City will go back. I could tell you why Memphis will finally get over the hump. I could sit here and tell you why Golden State. It's nuts.
It is.
It is nuts, the West. And this is why I'm telling you, Ruggs, for the first time in about a decade, I am pumped up for NBA basketball.
Oh, big time.
It's no longer like, oh God, okay, the Lakers. It's the Lakers and everybody else, or it's Miami and everybody else. It really is wide open.
When you get a game like Oklahoma City and Golden State the other night, it's just gets you excited. And that's a playoff type matchup early in the season.
Yes.
That's what the NBA. They love seeing those kind of games. It gets everybody fired up about the league.
I think the NBA is finally at a great position now. Get away from these dynasties. Get away from these repeats. I mean, okay, if you're a fan of the team, hey, I'm a Chicago Bulls fan in my personal life, obviously, as I mentioned earlier. Listen,
Sure, you loved it.
I didn't feel bad seeing the Bulls win 6 out of 8, okay?
No,
But you know what? As an objective fan, it's a little like, okay, enough already. You know, and the same thing happened with the Lakers, and now, you know, even Miami now with 3 straight conference championships and 2 straight NBA championships. It's like, okay, we get it. You know, you guys are great, but you know what? As a fan, as an objective fan, it's you know, sports is like watching a movie and seeing the same damn ending over and over and over again. But you know what I'm saying? Like watching a different movie and seeing the same ending.
Right.
And that's what the dynasties are like. It's like, okay.
They are good for ratings. I'll give them that. I mean, a lot of people like to clamor to the dynasty. You like to see, you know, whether the I don't know, I guess you want to call him the hero, can overcome this latest challenge when it looks like they're done. Can they come back and do it again? You know, people do tend when you have a player that really has that it factor and has like the charm or the, you know, like you want to, whatever you want to call it about Michael Jordan. People like to see, even if you were like, he always gets all the calls and you know, I don't like the Bulls because they get all the breaks.
Right.
You still watched. Because you wanted to see what he would do.
Yes.
That's the kind of thing where
LeBron's doing the same thing, man.
He's starting to really kind of, you know, turn that corner on public opinion, and people like to see them go. But, you know, there's a couple of players on all these top teams that people want to see. You know, people like watching the way Durant scores with so much ease. They like watching Steph Curry just shoot the lights out. He probably could do it blindfolded. I mean, the guy just doesn't miss sometimes.
Oh God! Against your team in the playoffs, it was unreal.
God, he just was an assassin.
Unreal.
I mean, you just could see it, and you just knew it was over.
Yeah.
And it just was, you know, they're like, on the paper, we're a better team, but I'm looking at him like, we're not winning this series.
Right.
And it was tough to watch, but good for the game. You know, if I have one takeaway though, I think maybe people might have overrated the Rockets a little bit and the Clippers. Those are 2 teams I want to see more out of them. I don't love the way the Clippers, they have a lot of dunkers and a lot of athletes, but they don't have a real good
perimeter
interior
shooter.
Yeah, and they don't have the knockdown guy, and they have a lot of, you know, a lot of athletes without a lot of necessary like inside presence. You know, Griffin's not going to spot up and knock jumpers down. In the playoffs, you can't have guys just.
And DeAndre Jordan's not doing that either.
Same exact thing, and you got, and the free throw shooting on both of those guys, especially Jordan, kills the Clippers. That's why they can't play him as much as they'd like to down the stretch.
Yeah.
And of course, you know, when you say that, you talk about Dwight Howard on Houston. I mean, he just, you know, he's a real liability with that, as everybody knows. I do like their guard play. I do think Jeremy Lin is come out so far and had a good start to his season, and Harden's a great player. I mean,
Harden's tremendous, yeah.
One of the better players in the league, and you know, nobody now they're starting to talk about him, but in the past,
well,
you know,
if you see some of the foul calls he was getting at MSG last
you would
week,
know that he's arrived.
He's a superstar. Pretty funny you say that, because I'll just come on and say right now, you know, they're sitting there at 7-4. It's a little early, like you said, and I would like you're going to need to see more from them. But I'll give you my picks right now for the NBA Finals. I'm going, drum roll please, Houston Rockets come out of the West. Okay. I really think, again, it's early. I know maybe I'm a year too early on this one as well. I just think, I know Dwight Howard's maybe he's not quite the same player he was in Orlando, but I still think he's still pretty good. He's not Hakeem Olajuwon. He never will be. He's not that, you know, he's not Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, but I think, you know, he will present defensive matchup problems for guys, especially when we come to playoff time. He still can grab some boards. You're right, his free throw shooting is deplorable, but so was Shaq's.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
You can still win with bad free throw
shooting.
shooting.
But, you know, I just like Houston. I like some of their personnel. You know, like you said, Lynn. I like Chandler Parsons. Obviously James Harden. You know, he is starting to enter that elite group of players there. I really like Houston. I think, you know, they're pretty deep. For some reason, I like them to win the West. And in the East, I'm going to go with the Chicago Bulls. I know maybe I am being a little bit of a homer, but I don't think so, man. I think this is the year for the Bulls. I think as the season progresses, Rose is going to get stronger. I like them. I obviously like what they do defensively. And the key is going to be, obviously, if Noah can stay healthy, he's a beast down low. Dang is playing at a high level, also looking for a contract.
Very underrated, good player.
Very underrated. And obviously, I think it's going to be the trade deadline. The last few years, they've been rumored to make a move. They haven't done it. They haven't pulled the trigger. Will they finally do it this year? We'll see. But if they can land a guy like a LaMarcus Aldridge, or if they land a shooter, whoever it may be, we'll see who you know. Obviously, as the season progresses, we're going to see who becomes available. You can they grab a guy to help out Derrick Rose and the team like that, or can Carlos Boozer just keep playing playing well? Can Carlos Boozer play at an all-star level like he kind of did last year down the stretch? I got to give the Boozer played very well for the Bulls down the stretch last year and helped them beat the Nets in the first round. Speaking of the Nets, they've been a total bust so far this year.
It's kind of – it's tough when you mix a new team together. We saw it when the Heat first came together. It took a while for them to get going. The difference is the Heat had a lot of prime players. Now
not old
little
guys.
past prime players here with the Nets. It might be a little difficult to get the same kind of result, but we'll know a little more in around Christmas time and New Year's after a good amount of games have been played.
I tell you what, guys had crazy numbers on the Nets. Some guys were saying 60 wins. Where do you think the Nets end up when the year ends? Obviously, they're not going to get to 60. I mean,
I think they'll be that. I'd project them now if I was going through. I'd probably pick them as the 5 seed. Mm-hmm. So that would put you in like a low 50, like a 52 or 51 or a 52 win team.
I could see that. I could see them doing that. I could see them doing that. I said 53 before the year started. I agree. 5 seed. That's where I pretty much have them.
That's how I have them too. And I really think they're going to lose the first round series against any of those top,
especially if they play the Bulls.
Teams. If they the Bulls,
they
don't match up well with the Bulls.
No, they will not match up well against the Bulls. No way. So that's pretty good, man. All right, so are we in line for a break here?
Yeah, we're actually we got a little time left in the segment. We're going to just touch real quick on the NHL season. And,
all right, we got a little NHL going.
Just kind of what your takes are. I mean, we won't delve too deeply into it because we want to.
Wrap up over here. We're up against it here. The Blackhawks are picking up right where they left off last year. They look pretty damn good. Gotta say this realignment works. I like what I'm seeing. I like the parity in the NHL. Very excited to see it. Tampa Bay was off to a flying start. Unfortunately, they lost Stamkos to a terrible injury there. It's looking like 4 to 6 weeks or something, maybe 8 weeks. That's a tough loss. That's a tough blow for the Tampa Bay Lightning, who were looking like they were playing really well. The NHL should be good. I like the realignment. I like the new icing rules as well. A great move by the NHL doing that. I think they got to fix the overtime. I think they're gonna do that next year. But all in all, I like the new rules and stuff like that. Let these guys play a little bit. It's looking like an exciting year for the NHL. If I could give some quick predictions, it just looks like the Blackhawks are going to win that West. And these California teams that always play well, they just never really amount to anything in the playoffs, like Anaheim and stuff like that, San Jose. These teams, they never really come through in the playoffs. Phoenix is another one that always comes to mind. They look great for a while, then all of a sudden they hit a lull. They get to the playoffs, they just get beat. So I like Chicago there, especially with their toughest test, Detroit being out of the West now. They should probably just get out of the West pretty cleanly there. And in the East, Detroit's defense right now is just really bad. I wanted to pick them before the year started. I really thought they'd do very well in the East, but their defense is terrible. They've gone from being one of the best defensive teams to one of the worst. I mean, the East is just wide open. I'll still go with Detroit.
I could see, that. I really could.
Detroit Blackhawks Stanley Cup Finals. Wow,
I'm gonna be really lame here and pick a rematch, and I don't like doing it because I'm not a Bruins fan whatsoever. I like any other team but to beat them, but I think it's gonna be the Blackhawks beating the Bruins again. I just in the East especially. I mean, anywhere in the NHL, but especially in the East. I mean, the seedings don't mean anything. It doesn't matter what you're doing now. You just got to get in. They do a very good job of winning playoff series, and they always put a premium on the netminder, which is the biggest thing when you go into hockey. That's why I can't pick the Penguins, because I think the Penguins still have all that talent. And a team, I think their goaltending kills them. And that's why I won't pick them, because I like
same thing with the Capitals, man.
Yeah,
same thing with the Capitals. Exactly. They're the perennial paper champions.
Yeah, exactly. I don't even you just
disregard.
You
disregard Capitals.
They don't have the tough netminder that's going to stop in a huge spot. So I'm gonna go. Blackhawks beating the Bruins, maybe another 6 gamer.
Well said, man. Yeah, we'll see how it goes. It should be good. Should be a good year for the NHL. I like what I'm seeing. Hey, man, did you hear? I got to just give a quick shout out. I know this is not a big market for it here, but I got to give a quick shout out to Jimmy Johnson, who won his 6th championship last night.
Unbelievable.
6th title in 8 years. The guy's remarkable. I mean, I'm a Jeff Gordon fan. I've been watching Jeff Gordon for a long time. This guy I don't know if it's the equipment or what. He's the best racer I've ever seen. The team around him is unbelievable. Great crew chief, great everything. The guy is just a winner. 66 wins in his career already. He's only 38 years old with 6 championships. Congratulations, Jimmy Johnson.
I'm impressed. One guy who's not impressed, though, is Donovan McNabb. Would you like to go into that a little bit?
Well, looking at Donovan, if anybody's not an athlete, it's him. Boy, oh boy, have it. Stop hanging out at Geno's, pal. Jeez Louise. You know what's funny about Donovan? He's the same guy who vomited in the Super Bowl against New England because he was so out of shape.
He did, you're right.
I don't mean Donovan talking about somebody not being an athlete. Jeez, Donovan. Come on, buddy.
What do you think, Zook? Is he an athlete?
I'm kind of split on it. I think there's a lot of athletic intangibles involved in driving a car, especially endurance. If you're talking about any athletic intangible with that, it's endurance. You need it because let me tell you something, man. You know, and people that want to say he's not an athlete, okay, think about every time you drive your car an hour or you're sitting in traffic and you cry like a baby, oh, this traffic. Okay, buddy, imagine putting yourself on a half-mile racetrack or a 1-mile track, okay, oval, okay, surrounded by 42 other cars.
When it's 120 degrees down in Talladega or, Daytona.
It's 200 degrees in your car. You're wearing a fire suit with a helmet. Okay, you got some fresh air coming in there, obviously, because the guys would die. And then imagine this. There's no bathroom breaks. Okay, so you got to pee your pants. Okay? Add all those intangibles in and tell me he's not an athlete, okay? And then he's got to go around the tracks sometimes 500 times. Imagine going around somewhere 500 times at about 100 some odd miles per hour with guys bumping on you. We get nervous on the highway when someone tails us. Oh, this guy's tailgating me. Oh, God. Oh, man. Imagine someone trying to run you into a wall. Come on. There's a lot of intangibles. Pressure, endurance.
And reflexes. I mean, you got to take that into account.
You got to shift your car. You got to shift that gear, make a move, make a pass, you got to make a decision in 1/100th of a second. Oh, do I cut here? Do I make a pass here? Do I do that? It's tough.
It's not just wins and losses. I mean, your life's on the line when you don't make a good decision in racing. So.
Yeah. So, all right, is he RG3? No. Is he LeBron James? No. But I'll tell you what. Let's put LeBron James behind the wheel of that car. Let's see how he does. And I had people argue, oh, let's see Jimmy Johnson get underneath center. Well, maybe Jimmy Johnson's not in bad shape. Maybe if the guy practiced his whole life, maybe he could be a quarterback. But you know what?
Yeah, everybody's definition of an athlete is different.
It's different.
Like
exactly.
I said to you during the break, I mean, those guys that go up into a 50-story burning building with all that gear on, a couple 100 pounds of gear on there and go into a 1,000-degree building pulling bodies out of there. I mean, on the hook and ladder teams with the firefighters, I mean, to me, that's being an athlete right there. You're not going to get, a varsity letter for doing something like that, but if how you define being an athlete is with strength and endurance and reflexes and all those intangibles, I mean, then they are. I mean, it's basically kind of on how you personally would take what an athlete is all about.
Yep. But anyway, hey, everybody has a right to their opinion. If Donovan doesn't think he's an athlete, hey, he's not an athlete. It's his opinion. But Donovan, for the most part, he wasn't slamming Johnson. He just broke.
Yeah, it's how things come up. Somebody asked him.
He wasn't, he congratulated Johnson. So, I saw some people get mad at Donovan. I don't want to kill him.
Yeah, and I don't care if you're playing tiddlywinks. If you win 6 out of 8 championships, that's impressive.
Yeah, especially in a sport like NASCAR. Very impressive. So congratulations to Jimmy Johnson on that. And
I think that's going to wrap it up for tonight. At the Zuki Ruggs Show.
That's it, man. We're
great show. We really just I can't believe it's over. We just pounded right through. That's what happens when we go on hiatus there and we.
I know.
And enjoy.
Don't do it to me.
We hobnob with the Scott Burrell. Scott Burrell tells us, have a good night, guys, as he's getting up, and we get in there with the players and the coaches and it.
Scott Burrell.
He did. He said, have a good night, guys. As walking out. We're not making that up. He said good night to us, not the other way around.
That's right. That's right. He knew. He was starstruck. All right. Well, thanks for listening and thanks for subscribing and thanks for all the support. Keep it coming, please.
Spread the word to your friends and
have
them like us on Facebook.
Absolutely. Like us on Facebook. Subscribe. It only takes a second on YouTube. And, please comment on stuff and any ideas for the show. Please feel free to drop us a line, man.
Yeah, because we'd love to talk about issues that you want to hear about and subjects.
Absolutely. Right on our Facebook wall there. Break it down. Give it to us, man.
All right, we'll see you next week, guys. Take it easy.
Bye-bye.
Do you have a friend or loved one who suffers from, verbal diarrhea.
Oh my God, did you see what
is
she
it
was
so
wearing?
bad that it is
Like her
ruining your family
shoes?
functions or
Ew.
intimate moments?
I mean,
I can't take it anymore. I just feel like poking my eyes out when they ramble on and on and on.
Hello, I'm Dr. Joel Horowitz, and fortunately for you, we at Know It All Labs have developed a treatment for this growing epidemic known as sedate phobia, or fear of silence.
Taken once daily, this oral remedy known as synthetic transparent ferric uranium, or commonly referred to as STFU, will begin the healing process.
STFU saved my marriage. Now I can get through an entire movie and actually hear the words. And I don't think about crashing the car every time we go for a family trip. Thank you, STFU.
For everyone who has had to endure a life without peace and quiet, STFU is for you. Results may vary. Side effects are not common but may include psychotic episodes, loss of testosterone, bleeding of the auditory canal, and pestilence. Use as directed.